So, do we still have some space for some more people? Okay, perfect. Okay. Welcome. So. So, hello everyone. Welcome to Mobile Developers Latvia Meetup number 17 already. So, let's say hi. Today we are in Workland, so this is a co-working space in case you're looking for one in the heart of Riga Old Town. It's amazing, so hopefully you like it here. And let's do a little warm-up as usual. Raise your hand if you are a Flutter developer or want to try Flutter. Okay, 1/3. If you are a native Android developer. Okay, not much. Native iOS. Many more. Okay, and if you're not a developer but just interested in development? Okay. Okay, we have some people here. Okay, nice. Yes, where's my slides? Yes. So who are we and who am I? My name is Daria and I'm a mobile tech lead at Chile, the organizer of this event. And we at Chile are really passionate about mobile apps in particular and software and its quality in general. And we want to, first of all, share this knowledge with the community by inviting amazing speakers and hosting also amazing local speakers. And of course, facilitating the local community because we know that there are many great developers in Riga, and specifically mobile developers. And it would be really cool to exchange knowledge, exchange contacts and everything. So these events happen every second month. So the next one will be in June, and they are regular, so let's stay in touch. And as I said, we are Chile Labs, and we make mobile apps. We do iOS native development, Android native Flutter, a lot of it now, and also, of course, code audit and QA. And we have an in-house team of amazing designers who do all kind of design. They can design you anything, and this presentation also. So, if you want to become part of the team, currently we have many open positions which you can check out on our career page. But more specifically, we're looking for a junior marketing specialist to promote Chile, basically, and also for middle and senior mobile developer. And by mobile, I mean native or Flutter. But if you are not a middle or senior developer, we are launching a Flutter school from scratch in Riga, hopefully next month. And if you want to become part of that, leave your email here, and we will contact you next week. Hopefully someone will scan this. All right, and that's it from me. And today, wait, there's... okay, I forgot the agenda slides, so really sorry, but it's okay. Oh, okay, thank you. I mean, what an event without technical hiccups. So, yep, thank you very much.
Sorry about that. I'm not good at presenting stuff.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you very much. So yeah, the agenda for today is we will start with Dominik's talk about having fun with Dart on the backend. Then we'll have a coffee break, and don't be shy, talk to each other, talk to us, talk to our speakers. Let's have some fun. Then we will continue with the talk from CEO of Chile, Vaceslavs, with his talk, Invest in ASO and Analytics instead of new features. And yes, let's network some more after that. And with this, I want to invite to stage our first speaker who came to us from Poland. He's an amazing engineer, Flutter GD, Dart GD, and lead engineer at Visible. And I'll let you talk more about yourself.
Thank you, thank you very much. Thank you, Daria. All right, just let me quickly switch to my slides. And I must say, it's kind of odd, maybe funny to talk about Dart on the backend on the mobile meetup, and even more to realize that only a third of you does something with Flutter. So hopefully you're gonna enjoy this, and also you will learn a little bit more about Flutter, but it's gonna be skewed towards Dart itself. But I think it's kind of empowering and interesting to see, like myself being a mobile developer mostly, Xamarin, React Native, Flutter, stuff like that. And I just had to I just had to develop some backend apps. So it was interesting to see how Dart let me do this. But before we dive into the topic itself, again, typical stuff as always. I'm Dominik, super happy to be here with you. First time in Riga. Really enjoy the city so far. I'm gonna sightsee tomorrow. Looks so cozy and nice to just walk around. At the moment, I'm building an app, the product called Visible. This is an app for people that struggle with long COVID and chronic fatigue syndrome and some other chronic illnesses. And we're trying to help people with this condition to just live a better life. And I also try to write something on my blog and my newsletter. So if you feel like it, feel free to check it out. So when it comes to backend development from the mobile developer point of view, it's you tend to get some assumptions that are not always true. Like when you're developing for mobile, you usually just have a single person kind of using the app. You only focus on that. Of course, you integrate with the backend, so you need to understand how the backend works. But the backend development is vastly different from front-end development, and the distance between mobile development and backend development is even higher than between just a web front-end. But I mean, it's still kind of compelling to try to transfer your mobile development skills to build some backends. The great thing about Flutter, which uses Dart as its language, is that Dart can also be used to build backends. And finally, like even on this little poster here, there is a thing called Vapor. And from what I can tell, Vapor is a Swift framework for backends. I don't know if anybody used Vapor before. No, not even iOS engineers that raised their hands before. But it's kind of interesting to see that many of these mobile-first frameworks or languages try to kind of take a piece of cake from the backend side. So this is kind of what Dart also provides. And if you think about it, Dart originated from the backend world. Like like a few years ago, like 2 years before Flutter beta, one of the biggest companies using Dart in Warsaw was actually just building backend stuff. So it was really interesting to see that this transition in last few years that Flutter is like kind of taken Dart as its main kind of language. Dart is adapting to Flutter, not the other way around. And at Visible, where we build this product, we only have 2 mobile engineers, and we're mobile first. And we, at some point, just had to build some backends. So the first thing that we tried was kind of obvious and simple. We just tried to use Cloud Functions in TypeScript. That was pretty fast. We get going in a few days, and we're able to just have simple endpoints, simple APIs. However, and also we have some processing in Python because we collect a lot of data from our users. And once we had to scale up. At the moment, we have 20,000 monthly users, which for me personally, for such a small team, is kind of exciting. But like once we kind of got into this a little bit bigger scale, we realized that it's getting a little bit out of hand, kind of switching between TypeScript and Dart, and maintaining the same models into languages. Even with some kind of code generation, it became quite tricky. And we looked into some ways of using Dart as our API for the mobile app. There was a lot of context switching and some conflicts between models. So for instance, on the backend, on the database, we defined some field as a nullable, then it was not nullable in TypeScript, and then again nullable in Dart, and it was kind of getting out of hand. So we looked into possible solutions, and that was my duty just to check out. And today I'm going to share some insights. So if you are in the same situation, or maybe you want to just build a simple backend for the mobile app, or maybe try to integrate with hyped ChatGPT or any other AI solution out there right now, Dart can also do that. So let's start with some possible solutions, and let's start for like the obvious one, or like the oldest one, which is called Shelf. Shelf is a library that was developed back in the day before Flutter to build backend in Dart. And it's just a simple library that allows you to create really basic requests handler and servers. It supports things like middleware, so you can check for the authentication, do some kind of pre-processing of the requests. The implementation is super simple. If you have some endpoint, let's say you serve it on your you serve it on your local host or on your server. You just create handlers using very simple syntax. So in like 20 lines, 15 lines of code, even less, you can have a simple hello world, and you can serve it from anything. Pretty simple. So this responds for every request with just the request name, and you can of course add more things on top of that. However, the problem with Shelf is that there's no proper documentation. Like, the thing has more than 5 years, and unless you look into the examples, you don't know how to use that. So not many people kind of take it as their first tool to build the backend solution. Then the other thing, on the opposite spectrum of, I would say, accessibility and ease of use, is ServerPod. So ServerPod is just a kind of very nice first-class solution that lets you build Dart backends. It's a commercial one. I used it like just briefly. It's fun and nice, but at the same time, the overhead of just setting up a third-party account and stuff like that was beyond what I wanted to do. I just wanted to have something that I can locally develop, I can deploy to anywhere, and don't tie to any kind of provider, but they are great. They have really nice branding, really cool. With like, I think it reminds me of Rive, which is the animation library for Flutter, and not only. So if you look for something that's easy to use out of the box, then ServerPod could be one of that. And then, as you recall, we used Cloud Functions in TypeScript. And for many months, developers asked Google whether Dart is going to be supported in Cloud Functions. So at the moment, you can use TypeScript or JavaScript, and there have been some ways to use Dart with Cloud Functions. So for instance, you could just transpile Dart to JS and then just run this as your Cloud Functions. And recently, Google unveiled, but it's still kind of hidden, not officially endorsed, a library called Functions Framework for Dart. And this is a really nice wrapper, or like a helper, that lets you build things that are very similar to Cloud Function and host them on App Engine. If you dive deeper into how Cloud Functions work, they are actually kind of App Engine, or like Google Cloud's App Engine services, but like just wrapped with much nicer package and having a bit more observability and ability to kind of deploy using different APIs and just manage through the user interface. And App Engine is a underlying tool for many Google services that run on Google Cloud. And you can potentially use this, and I use that, and this is really cool, because when I open my Cloud Function in TypeScript and then open my Dart implementation of that on the other side, it was looking almost exactly the same, just in a different language. And I could potentially easily port our backend from TypeScript to Dart. The only issue is actually that you have to run it on App Engine, and you have to deal with things like scaling manually, the stuff, maybe not manually, but you have to define things like how the endpoint scales, to what kind of region you need to deploy it. Things like some of the libraries are not supported in Dart just yet, so you have to find some replacements. But other than that, you can potentially, again, with just a very simple Dart function that handles your request, you can just have a simple hello world, and of course you can build up on top of that much more complex solutions. Of course, like things like in Cloud Functions, you can do PubSub, which is like sending messages that other functions can respond to. You don't have it with Dart Functions Framework for Dart, because it doesn't support PubSub out of the box. So for us, where we use a lot of PubSub and kind of microservices or like small functions that handle some distributed requests, it was much more difficult. So we just passed it for now. But the deployment is super simple. Once you have your project, you just run gcloud run deploy, select the project, select the some of the properties, and in a few seconds you have your Dart endpoint running on Google Cloud, and it works almost exactly the same as Cloud Functions. Of course, with some of the caveats that I mentioned before, and also from the mobile app side, you cannot use Firebase Functions SDK. You have to use just typical RESTful calls to your endpoint. So that's the catch. And the thing that I mentioned at the beginning of this chapter was that Google does not endorse it. So it's not like an official Google product. But again, this is not an insider knowledge, but it seems that it's going to be endorsed soon by Google in a way that they will not support, at least that's my guess, they will not support Dart in Cloud Functions. They will just say, if you want to use Dart on Google Cloud, you can use that. And this is one of the kind of lowest, like easiest approaches, easiest ways to have Dart on the backend. So that's like these three tools that I mentioned are kind of less popular at the moment, I would say. And whenever you look for ability to use Dart on the backend, the obvious choice pops up, and it is Dart Frog. And probably most of Flutter developers heard about it, but for people outside of the Flutter realm, let me tell you that this is kind of the best known kid on the block when it comes to Dart on the backend. And it's been fairly popular in last few months and getting more and more support. And if you'd like to describe it, you could say that this is like a minimalistic framework for backend in Dart. It's built on top of Shelf, but aside from that, it supports a couple of cool things. Like for instance, in Flutter, when you build your app, I don't know if it's supported in any way in Swift or Kotlin just yet, but like you have hot reload. So whenever you save your file, the changes automatically get pushed to the app, and you see the changes almost immediately with a fraction of a second on a good day. And the same thing actually applies also to Dart Frog, because it also supports hot reload. So this is pretty cool. If you implement your endpoint in Dart, you can just simply save your file, and within a few seconds, when you call this endpoint, it's refreshed. You can get similar experience with TypeScript, but at the same time, it's npm still needs to kind of recompile the function in order for you to reload the JS and have different different behavior. With Dart Frog, it's actually hot reloading the piece of code that changed, so it doesn't have to recompile everything, which is kind of cool, super easy to work with. The other thing, and this is like a choice, conventional choice, is that it uses file system routing. So you define your routes using files. So for instance, this file is called endpoint.dart. So you would have to call /endpoint to access that. You can have things like shelf supports, which is middleware, and there's also built-in dependency injection. Again, once you start building something more complex, it's you're gonna require some kind of dependency injection anyway. Getting started with that is super simple. I don't know if anybody knows the author of Dart Frog. There's one person raising a hand, but I think if I would ask you, it would be cheating. Anybody knows who created that? So there's a guy called Felix Angelov, and he's like a really known person in the Flutter community, and he's created a lot of packages, and he also created Dart Frog. And the kind of common theme around his works is that there's a lot of some kind of CLIs around this. So there's also a CLI, command line interface for Dart Frog. So you can just use the CLI, and it manages your Dart Frog server. It manages your Dart Frog server and deployment and building and stuff like that, which is super cool because you just need one tool to build and deploy your server. there is like this debugger and continuous mode, watch mode of the CLI, which is super convenient. As mentioned before, routes are file-based, so if you want to have your route, you need to create just index.dart file in a specified directory. So in this particular case, when you call your just your main endpoint, it's gonna call index.dart. If you would create a named file, it would you could just call it by appending this behind the URL. Super simple. Again, 4 lines of code, 6 including comments and new lines. So pretty cool, super easy to start. And that's something that I chose for today's demo. That's going to be at the end. And I hope that you're going to enjoy. Another thing that we heavily rely on at Visible is WebSockets and real-time connection. And when selecting a tool for what we want to potentially in the future use as our Dart replacement, we also needed to have WebSocket support. And what is pretty cool about Dartfrog, there's a package for that, and you can have WebSocket support almost instantaneously. And to use WebSockets, instead of just responding with response in your request, you respond with a WebSocket handler, and this handler is going to manage your WebSocket connection. So it's going to notify you whenever anybody connects to the WebSocket, whenever somebody disconnects, and also will let you know about any incoming messages. And you will use this handler also to send messages across the WebSocket. Super fun. And again, the API is extremely simple, and compared to just building the WebSocket handler on your own, it's like 3 times shorter, 5 times shorter, which is super convenient. And you can have even type safety with that if you define your models in a proper way. Another thing, and this is the moment where we try to bind or like connect mobile development and backend development, because until this point, most of the things that I mentioned were purely backend concepts. So for me as a mobile developer, I don't have to deal with them most of the time. But in Flutter, one of the most popular design patterns, state management techniques, libraries is block or Flutter block. And this is essentially a state machine that uses streams as its inputs and outputs. So this is kind of specific to Flutter, but at the same time, it's also present in other environments, other languages. And with block, you have to kind of add event, process this event, and then block emits a state. And it would be useful to bring this skill or bring this mode of operation also to the backend, especially if you consider your WebSocket messages to be your events and your outputs to be your states of your block. So you can potentially just try to take this concept from your mobile app and apply it to the backend. And there is a library for that as well, broadcast block. And this is a block that uses a WebSocket handler to process incoming messages as events and emit outgoing states as messages on the WebSocket, which is kind of cool, because what I wanted to do as a demo was to kind of have some kind of simple game when there is a game state, game world, and this world is a state of the game, state of the server, repeating message on the WebSocket. So this is what we're going to use. In this particular example, we have our world block, and this is going to handle our, or like manage our state of the game. And there's a couple of things here, like whenever player joins, whenever player is removed, whenever player gets updated, like adding a name or stuff like that. And each message that's going to enter the WebSocket is going to be an event to this block, and the block is going to handle that and then emit a new state in response to that. And another thing that is kind of cool with Dartfrog, and mostly all of the Dart libraries, is that once you define some of the models, let's say on your mobile app, it's pretty easy, almost illegally easy to share these models with your backend. So as I mentioned before, we had to struggle with kind of transferring TypeScript models to Dart and Dart models to TypeScript. And the cool thing about using just Dart Frog is that you can just use the same file, use the same model, both for the backend and the mobile app. And in this particular example, I just have my game models package. It needs to be kept under the Dart Frog directory, because Dart Frog gets packaged as a Docker container, so everything needs to be self-contained. But all the models that I have, player, world, game, events to the game, actions, stuff like that, can be shared between the backend and the mobile, which is super cool. And if you kind of think about it, if you can just share your models across these two environments, it's just going to reduce the overhead of all the API generation entirely. And the cool thing about Dart Frog is that once you define your models, you can even create your API client calls. So if you use, I don't know, I think on Android you use Dagger, right? Or something like that to do the request. In Flutter, use HTTP or DO, and Dart Frog can generate the request for you easily, so that you don't even have to deal with manually writing your API requests. All right. So knowing all of that, the implementation of our WebSocket handler is going to be super simple. In this particular case, and whenever somebody joins the game, whenever somebody connects to the WebSocket, we're going to add them to our world block. So we can see that here we're just accessing the world block and subscribe to it, and then add the event called world player added. And we have the sync for the channel, where we just gonna emit the current state of the block. Then whenever this stream emits a new event, which is whenever we get any kind of message from the mobile app, we're gonna add this as a event to the block. And whenever player disconnects, we're gonna add a world player removed, which means it's gonna remove the player from the state. And once you deploy it, even locally on your local host, you're gonna see in your Postman that whenever a player joins, you see them in the world state. So here you can see a JSON that describes the state and the position of our player in the world. And you can just add any kind of message to the WebSocket that game supports. So in this particular case, world player updated, and then once you have it, you will see the change immediately emitted by the WebSocket through the world block. All right, so we're going to change the position here and send the message through the WebSocket, and immediately after, it's going to be emitted by the world block. So this player position changed to 0, 0. So this was the kind of backend part of that. And then on the app side, it's going to be super simple as well. So you can use the WebSocket client library, which is like you have the WebSocket handler and WebSocket client. These are like two sides of the same coin. And you can just use this to send any kind of messages. So this is, let's say, part of code that's in your mobile app. And the greatest thing here is that you can just use exactly the same classes, exactly the same models when dealing with your backend API. And of course, I'm using WebSockets here, but you can use this also for your RESTful endpoints. You can use this for any kind of backend interactions. And it just saves so much time. And as a mobile developer, I think there is nothing easier than that. I kind of feel that it's like empowering even too much sometimes. All right. let's have a short demo right now. And I'm going to need you to take out your phones because we're going to scan a little QR code. I know that QR codes are pretty common tonight. And this time, I actually need you to scan this. I'm going to check in a sec if it actually works. But it should. So this is going to be a QR code here. Kind of funny. I'm going to try to scan it as well. Yep. And you should see a game screen. Feel free to join. I hope it's going to connect. I'm on my LTE. Let me know if you cannot connect, if it fails to connect, because sometimes I noticed that on LTE it fails to connect. I'm going to try to connect. Connecting, didn't connect. Just give me a sec. I think it has some issues on this Wi-Fi on all this LTE. Sorry. Ah, crap. I can see that I need to restart my instance. Connected? Yeah, amazing. Yeah, so there was a bit of a warm-up time. All right. So I'm going to try to show it here as well. Right, so if you join that, there's going to be a little game for you prepared. Amazing, I can see you top players. All right, so this is the game that you just saw me a part of that implement. And I mean, I don't know if I can promise any kind of awards, but probably there's going to be some beers or something. So if you haven't joined yet, here's the QR code again. And this is a super simple thing, but hopefully, like, we can see that several people joined. Later on, I'm going to check. Yeah, 19 people joined. And this is a single instance Dart Frog server running on an app engine, deployed just before this talk, and it works just fine. And the more people join, the more dots there are. So if you join, you can just tap on them and try to win. Let's wait a couple more minutes, maybe to 7:15. And we're going to see who won. And then, so I can see that Kirill is actually leading here really seriously. But maybe somebody's going to beat him. Name, 38, yeah. And what is cool about this is that every one of you is getting WebSocket messages every second or so. That synchronize the world state, right? So for me, as a demo, this kind of works pretty well. Yeah, I can see that like at least 4 people try to compete. The Flutter Slayer is on the 5th place. And yeah, so the top 4 don't change as much as lower places. Let's have last like 30 seconds, and we're going to see who won. I mean, it's kind of obvious, unless Kirill disconnects. All right. All right, Kirill reached 100 points. I think it's the most that anybody ever scored in this game. I think that's going to be a wrap. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the slides. So let's quickly recap what we've just learned. So as you, like at the beginning, I went through some of the ways that you can use Dart on the backend, right? So Shelf, Server Pod, Functions framework for Dart, and finally Dart Frog. There are some other ways, but not as popular. And Dart Frog supports WebSockets almost out of the box, and I can highly recommend this. As you can see, 20-something people easily, so huge scale. We can easily deploy this to like a production of 20,000 users. For the Flutter side of things, it's like a mirrored library WebSocket client that allows you to easily connect to your WebSocket. Not necessarily Dart Frog. It can be any WebSocket connection. And finally, I have a question to you. Knowing all of that, and not necessarily being Flutter developer, right? Because only a third of you knows Flutter and uses Flutter. I wonder, like, would you use Dart on the backend, knowing like how easy it is to set up? Of course, there's like TypeScripts and JavaScripts and all the things in the like Pythons of the world, but like I must say that Dart feels closer to Kotlin and Swift than, for instance, JavaScript. So I wonder if this feels for you like a viable choice, because for us as Visible, having Dart developers mostly or Flutter developers, it seems like a really good choice. Of course, there are some costs, there are some drawbacks, but at the same time, I wonder like how you feel. Like I don't want to ask you at the moment, but maybe you can just kind of clap if you would like to use Dart on the backend. Yeah, couple. All right. That's gonna be all. Thanks a lot. I hope that you enjoyed a little bit of kind of side topic from the mobile side. Like it's not necessarily mobile topic, but I enjoyed this very much. I'm glad that the demo worked. The demo gods were with us tonight. So, you know, with a little hiccup, but all in all, I think it was quite fun. And congratulations, Kirill. Who is Kirill? Like, where is Kirill? Yeah, congrats. Yeah, congrats. Thank you very much again, and I hope to have some chats with you after the presentations about Flutter, about Dart, about anything else. Thank you so much.
We have a couple of minutes for questions. So does anyone have any questions right now? Please raise your hand. About Dart? Yep.
Yeah.
How would you handle if you use backend and front end using Dart? How would you handle the API versioning?
Oh, that's a tricky question. Yeah. Typically, like it's the backend folks kind of business to version the APIs. With Dart Frog, the challenge is like you have this file-based routing, so you have to kind of think about it from the beginning, that you kind of keep your API under V1, right? And then if you want to make breaking change, you keep it under V2. So this is kind of, on one hand, super simple because you just create a new folder, and this is like, and copy the stuff from your previous implementation. You can, of course, have your implementation of your endpoints as a library and version this library as well. So that could be one way. Yeah, I think I would start with like just package versioning. So probably the package version would be the version of my API, and this way I could just make sure that I follow semantic versioning, although semantic versioning is a lie, as many people say. But probably use something like that, where like the implementation of my API would be a package that's versioned, and I can just make sure that I include the version somewhere in the URL.
All right, then thank you very much, Dominik.
Thank you so much.
I think
Oh my. Oh my God, it's an iPad. No,
this was an amazing talk, and I think as mobile developers, at some point in our career, we will meet with the thing when we need the backend. So I think this is something really cool to consider.
Thanks a lot.
Catch Dominik here.
By the beer, yeah.
Yep, by the beer. And yeah, we don't have the slide, but it doesn't matter. For now, we will have a 20-minute break. So you can go grab another beer, grab some snacks, talk to speakers, and let's meet here again in 20 minutes at 1940. Cool. Thank you so much. Все нормально? Okay, welcome back. Hope you've gained some energy. And let's continue with the second talk from CEO of Chili Labs, Vyacheslav, who will tell us all about why you should not think only about developing new features, but also analytics and ASO. So welcome, Slava.
All right. So I'm very pleased to see so many new faces and old faces. Yeah, those who don't know me, I'm Slava. I'm from Chili Labs. And basically today I will tell you more about why you rather invest in analytics or app store optimization instead of new features. So why should you listen to me? Should you? Basically, I've been building apps for past 6 years, almost 7. And together with the Chili Labs team, we completed more than 50 different projects, starting from small startups to large enterprises. And over the course of time, our development looks like this. We start with getting requirements. We try to understand what client wants. Then we develop everything, and then it's gone, right? We develop the product, we launched it, and then client eventually will come and say, hey, we need scope 1.1, or we need some support features. And between those steps, there is always a void. We don't know what happens, like, how did they came to this conclusion? What do they need to do? And some of the companies fail, and some of the companies succeed. So it always was my thinking, like, what's the difference? What those that succeed make differently than those who fail? And it kept bothering me, and I understood that it's time for me to become a client myself. And I decided to develop a pet project, Crochet app or Crochet app, you name it. But basically, yes, it's a fancy-looking app for crocheting and for knitting. So then this idea came to me, and I started thinking, like, okay, what do I do now? And I did my best. I started managing everything. I created Jira board, I created epics, components, all the stuff that discussed most of the mobile app developers. And I thought that we're gonna take 3 to 4 months to deliver it. So anyway, 7 months later, we have our first app released, and the developers were ecstatic, and designers were like, oh my God, yes, so cool. And everybody was so happy except one person. And that person was me. Why? Because we didn't earn any money. And for 7 months, I made a proud $0. And as a developer, we live in developers world, I have like black and white situation, where black means that if your app is not useful, then nobody gonna pay for it. And vice versa, if the app is great, then everything gonna be great, and eventually you will become a billionaire. And so I thought the same. And the team said, let's build more more useful features. And then we spent 2 more months, and developers were ecstatic, and designers were happy, and Slava was even more sad. Because in the end, no new features brought me even a single dollar. But I started to think on how do I fix that? How do I fix this thing? Should I even give up? Should I continue investing my own money into it? And this is how my journey to analytics and App Store optimization started. So most of my talk will be with the usage of Firebase. Basically, a lot of mobile developers here. I think it's the most common tool that you're going to use or use in your daily life. So yeah, Firebase, it's amazing not just because it's free, but also because it's very, very useful. So why do you need analytics, and when do you think that you need it? I like metaphor that if your stomach hurts, what you do? You don't take random pills, all right? I know some people who do, but please don't. Basically, if your stomach hurts and the pain doesn't go away, what you do? You go to the doctor, and he gives a lot of analysis. He checks you, and he gives you reason why it hurts. So the same happens with the mobile app. We need analytics to distinguish most of the stuff that happens in the mobile app world, basically crash rates, retention, monetization, user behavior, A/B tests, whatever. So why crash rates are very important? I guess everybody knows the answer, right? This is how Firebase analytics shows that you have some nice percentage or not so nice, but why it's important? Is it even important? What would be if there would be 98.5? Will something change? Will something break? And I was unsuccessful enough to learn it by my own example. This is real data from my app. And you see those stripes over here. This is actually the benchmarks of the Google that says that if you are on top of that, that means it's very bad, and it can have consequences. Basically, if you do not meet some standards with your app, then Google will demote your app, so you will be filtered out for some of the audience. You will have some impact in regards of the reviews, ratings, and customer satisfaction. And it's very important for the customer UX if, for example, you plan to monetize your users, right? So it's really important, and each store has its own different standards. So for Google, it's slightly above 1% of crash rates acceptable, or 8% per model. So basically, if you fail that, Google will not show this app for your devices. Same with INR, application not responding. To be honest, I didn't know that it's that big of a deal, but as it turns out, yes. So I would encourage you to check what are your INR scores. With Apple, as always, it's complicated. They do not show any data publicly, so it's a speculation, but it's a good speculation. A lot of upvotes on Reddit, so must be legit. But yeah, this is only thing that we get from Apple. But yeah, it's really important to check Apple data as well. Retention. We use analytics for retention. Who knows what retention is? Yeah, you know, you are with the speaker sign, so you must know. All right, retention, in traditional way, retention means that it's an app, it's a measurement of user joining your app every day. Basically, it's really important for ad-driven projects or marketplaces or the projects that you use daily, that you monetize users daily. For me, it's not so big of a deal. If a person is into crocheting every day, good, but you know, it's kind of more leisure hobby, so it's not the case. And the second part of this chart is engagement time. And it's really important also for the ad-driven revenue. And what it shows that on average, I have 8 minutes to monetize my user. And if I fail to do that, I have to wait another 14 days in average that users will come to my app and I have a chance to monetize them. So if you have ad-driven mobile apps, please pay attention to these details. All right, so the most important if there is one thing that you're going to take from this speech, please make sure it's this. So event measurement. This is really important. This is the way how you can define something, the way how you can make data-driven decisions. So let's say it is as a sales funnel. So there is a start point, first open usually on mobile apps, right? It's first open, it's user who never saw your app, then it's splash screen, then it's asking for some permissions, and let's just do it. Basically splash screen, then we're asking for some notifications, permissions, then we are showing him some onboarding where the user can go to next or skip or check some onboarding more, and then happens the most important stuff, which is a paywall. The whole reason why I brought this topic. So the topic, and from paywall you have two options. Either you pay, either you go away and go to login. So this is the funnel that I have in my app. And who has his pet project here? Raise your hand. All right, so if you don't have this, please do it. Basically, you just define each event by screen, and you write it in the Firebase so that you are tracking what happens. Otherwise, you have no information whatsoever. And with this, you can build Excel spreadsheets, or you can do all kind of things with it. So, for example, with me, it was that I realized that only 3% of users are having hook warehouse item added. So it's like an inventory thing. And only 3% were using that. And this is the funnel where I monetize them. So it should be really more high. And what I did some changes, and I can measure it as it was before and as it is now. And if you can see the new number, it's 43%. So it's 40% increase just with one change. How did I do that? I just made a new interactive paywall where users are forced to do that. And to be honest, I don't care because they already skipped a step with a paywall, so there is no way I can monetize them anyhow, so I really don't care. I just want them to make sure that they know about this functionality. So I did it, and I got my number somewhere increased, somewhere decreased. Basically, 3% of people less are watching ads. All right, I'm fine with that. And then, don't be scared of this table yet. Basically, when you build these funnels, you can make any meaningful ideas. Here, you need to know new customers and start rate. Basically, on July of 21, we had the start rate, which is a trial subscription. Conversion was 0.2. So 0.2% of users were agreeing to try my project for free, but just to try it. And only 45% of them stayed and actually wanted to pay. And in September, the dates were basically it goes to 1% and off, but overall it stayed around 1%. But in October, I did some changes that turned this into 3%, and then something that turned it to 4%, and it stays around 4% from then. So basically, when you have this data, you can find the biggest loser, and you can A/B test it, and you can make any ideas on how to fix that, test it out, and fix that. So what was it? And the biggest mover for me was a paywall. This is the paywall that designers liked. So it's nice, it's smooth, and I was always afraid that people will will not buy if they don't know what they are buying. So they must preview some functionality, right? So they must know what they are paying for. And they have to have selectors and paying 1 year, 1 month, or 3 months. But as it turns out, it's not the case. And this works 4 times better when you have just one button or cross on the top. And it turns out that only this change gave me 4 times more than anything else. And this is the situation before August. I was very sad, and I was happy when I had 20 trials happening per week, and I was really, really happy. And then, starting from August, it skyrocketed up, just due to some changes that we did in paywall. And now it's always around 100 trials per week. And many of them, huh?
Can I ask one question now?
Sure.
In that slide, you had a choice between the payable option and free of charge, and I think that explains.
All right, I will answer that when we finish, because there is a lot to cover. But yeah, basically, just wrapping up on the analytics, this is also real data. This is what I usually track. This is from Google. But basically, if you need to check app data, usually I check daily active users, monthly active users, crash rates, first open, because it's really unique event. Basically, if you delete an app and then reinstall it, it will not count as a plus. And app removal, it's only Google Play event, so might be tricky, as well as it has a couple of conditions that it not necessarily means that user removed an app. But yeah, then in-app purchases, if you have set it up, user reviews, it's a nice thing to follow them daily and check if there are any updates or unsatisfied customers. And push notifications if you are promoting some events. And yeah, we will get back to analytics, as I understood a bit later. So let's talk about ASO, App Store Optimization part. So what is ASO and why it's really important for your mobile project? One word, free. It's free users. So users that you don't have to pay to attract to any platform. And you have to do it the sooner the better, because it has a long-term effect. And the second part, it's relatively easy to implement. Basically, just a manager like me can do that, so you can definitely. And yeah, each store has its own different values on how it weights the one or another term in ASO. We will go to it piece by piece. But basically for App Store, there is a field called app name. I highlighted it on the top. So it should be 30 characters long. Please remove all of the unnecessary words, app, free, new, stuff like that, and use some meaningful keywords that you're gonna get indexed. So basically, it's like a search engine that you have to make sure that user can find you. Otherwise, there are millions of apps, and people will not waste time searching for that. So, yeah, do not put any plural names. Always check if there is a brand name. Basically, I was so holding and clinging to my Crochet app for this 12 characters long, and then I realized that there is 0 traffic on it, but I was on rank 1. So I understood that it doesn't make any sense to be there, and I removed it so you don't see it over there. It's Crochet, just as a search term. And it's the most valuable in terms of ASO. So subtitle it's very similar in Apple, but the difference is that do not use the same keys in app name and use the combinations of words like app name and subtitle so that it overlaps and makes more key phrases. Yeah, I know I have like crochet and crochet, but you know, I'm just experimenting and proving the point. But yeah, App Store has a hack that you can actually use, and there are 10 locales that are affecting USA market, even though they're mentioned as Arabic, Portuguese, Vietnamese, Korean. But if your main market, as it should be, is US, because it's the most valuable market, you have to go with these 10. And what it gives you 10 more chances to get indexed on the market. So that if you are just using English US right now, make sure that you are filling 9 more, and you will get indexed by other keywords as well. So this is something that really works. And Apple also has keywords. So there is 100 characters. Do not use any spaces. It just eats up the space. Do not use any repetitive keywords like buy Bitcoin, buy BTC. It should be buy Bitcoin, BTC, Ethereum, etc., etc. So do not repeat the same words. Apple will combine them themselves as you want. And dirty hack here. Use low competition keywords here because you can put a large word that otherwise would just be a waste of space, as well as you can put your competitor's name here and be indexed by it. So everybody does it. Nobody tells about it, but everybody does it. So there is a chance that by searching the competitor, people will find you on the rankings. So yeah, as this keyword doesn't show anywhere, there is no way to get it. So this is how I usually do it. I have like a large Excel spreadsheet that I love, and you have all kinds of locals. You check for lengths, and then I play around with it a lot. So this is my format, but there are like different tools for that. I do it old school, and Google has approximately similar situation, but they have different weight of the ASO rankings. And for Google, you have app name as well as with Apple. The life hacks are approximately the same. Only thing that you cannot use free in your name, as you can get banned because Google doesn't allow it. And yeah, try to squeeze as much text as possible. Try to use every character because it's the most valuable key. The next one is short title. With Google, it's 80 characters. It's second best in terms of ASO. And the same rules. And one condition with Google is that try to use multiple locales. For example, if the markets are different. In my case, there are some terms that are searched one way in US and some terms that are used in UK. For example, amigurumi, rikorumi, and other buzzwords that you never heard of. But yeah, if you know that there is a specific word in UK, you better switch to another locale and use it from the default. Google has also full description that is giving you 4,000 characters long description that you can use, but Google is recommending to write only 2.5 thousand. So use that as a marker. And one more thing is there is a big difference between search engine optimization and ASO is that you don't have to spam with keywords. And if you spam and your word density is more than 3%, then Google gonna demote your app, not promote as in SEO. Also with descriptions, you have to put, it's very badly, it doesn't affect that much on the ASO score, only the first 180 characters do. So if you have some keywords that you are still needing to input, then you have to put it on the top. So yeah, here is an example that there is way too many word crypto in the example, and you have to remove it. Otherwise, it's demoting your app. So yeah, Google Play, there is a huge amount of combinations that you can use. Check what is your default. For me, it's English United States. So if I didn't put any locale, then it will be by default English United States. And yeah, as I said, remove default locals with ASO if you know the relevant terms. So yeah, this is the same Excel spreadsheet that I use for work. Sometimes, yeah, it's repeating, but I haven't decided any better things. So ASO services that I use a lot, but I put top 5 that you can use straight away with your pet project or with your client project. So Google Play Console, it has a lot of keywords that you are already indexed with. You can use it for research purposes. Then ASO One, this is the, I would say, best free tool because it's free for iOS. Only, and it giving you some of the ASO tracking. The next one is StormAven. If you want to check your competitor listings in other countries, in other locales, you can use that. And I use Google Ads for the keyword ideas, and I use ASO Mobile for the ASO tracking and keyword research. So one more thing that we need to know is assets that also affects ASO and A/B tests that you can use to test it out. So here are 2 examples. I don't know why it's very, very pixelated, but yeah, basically we had version 1, and then there is version 2, and you can compare, you can divide traffic by 2 streams. Google and Apple will do it for you, and you can compare what performs better, and then make any decisions that are better. So yeah, you can do a lot of stuff with default tools by Google Play or by App Store. Do not hesitate. So in conclusion, I would like to say that without analytics, there is no way you can know anything. You literally have no idea and wondering building features. So you really have to log and track everything that you can in order to make meaningful decisions. Do not be afraid to experiment, iterate, and this is the chart basically saying that in April, 2 years from now, I had proud 0 subscribers, and now the number just before this presentation reached to 663 subscribers, and 102 of them are in trial mode. So most probably it will increase by the end of this presentation, and I hope so. And basically iterate it over and over again. ASO and analytics is a large topic. I just told you very, very briefly about it, but this is why questions are, right? And then point 5, you will turn into profit, and Slava will be happy. Yes, and that's it from me. If you want to do something remarkable and want to know what's wrong with your app, let us know, and let's chat. Maybe we will come up with something. All right, any questions? Probably more than I should. That's for sure. But yeah, it's my daily thing. Every morning it starts not with coffee. I'm just checking revenue cat and seeing how rich I am. But not there yet. All right. Yeah, you had a question. Can you please repeat that so we are?
Yeah, I just thought that maybe the reason why you had much more people using your app because in the left part of the slide you were asking money, but in the right you were just giving it for free.
But there was a free trial anyways. There was both of them had the same conditions. Basically, there was a choice.
You can scroll down. That's fine.
It's gonna be a long scrolling. Oh, sorry.
Too much.
Oh my God. Sorry about that. Yeah, all right. So yeah, this example, it's actually rigged example because yeah, it's restoring freemium. But here was the text was absolutely the same starting free trial. So sorry, yeah, not relevant example. You couldn't know that, but yeah, here it's just for user who already had premium. Yeah, but the text was absolutely the same. The conditions were absolutely the same. So the only thing that users here had an option to check something. They had to think, they had to read information, and here they had to just click one button and go.
So what will happen when they click the button? Do they have after that like sort of an option to take like annual subscription or not, or like?
No, this is just a monthly subscription. If they are not subscribed or they want to change their plan in the settings, there is a possibility to do that. Yeah, and also like every nth login, I ask, hey, would you like to subscribe? And there is also the old paywall.
So after this start free trial, once you push it, it basically does that pop-up with the
Yeah.
payment system already, right?
Yeah, but it also starts it the same way here. So.
So you touch it and then you need to cancel it in the period of 7 days, otherwise you won't pay.
Yeah. All right. Any more questions?
Yeah, one more.
Sure.
Sorry, I was not holding.
No more questions?
Where did you get the domain knowledge for the crocheting and knitting? And did you have a dedicated person to learn that, or are you skilled enough?
Well, now I am. Now I know how to crochet, basic things. But before that, I was dating a girl who was crocheting, and I couldn't believe how painful it is for her to count things. So yeah, this is how idea came from it.
I'm just playing with that at the moment. Pretty cool.
Cool. All right.
One
It's
more
very
subscriber
meditative.
by the end of this presentation.
Yeah.
Right now, about the 8 minutes you had, let's say, what would be the best option? If you have an average time of 8 minutes to kind of bring to the client the idea of paying, when would you recommend it? In the beginning, in the middle, also in the 8 minutes? What is the actual point where you would recommend the paywall or the ad or whatever it is that is monetizing the application?
The faster, the better. The faster you get to money, the better. Yeah.
Words
right.
of the CEO.
Well, Slava is happy that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
all
very
right.
much.
I guess that's it then.
Yes,
Thank
thank you very
you.
much.
Thank you,
Slava,
everyone.
let's clap again.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Daria. Thanks.
Okay, so yep, catch Slava after this in the kitchen. And the next Mobile Developers Latvia, number 18, will be in June. And this is the speaker. I think I know her. So yeah, I'll be the speaker for the next MDL, so you can't miss this. And if you want to become a speaker, then just contact us, me or Liliana or Slava, and we can arrange something. And also follow us in all of the social medias in order to be the first one to get all of the updates. And before leaving, please don't leave and help us become better for you and fill in this little questionnaire survey. It will be just like 1-2 minutes about the event. Please, please do this. I promise this is the last QR code for today. So yeah, please do that, and then let's meet in the kitchen. I won't let you out unless you scan this. So yeah. I'll let the people out just in case. Dominik, come here. I need a photo. Okay, Slava, come here. To that? Okay, let's go. And yeah, welcome for another beer and snacks and so on. Okay. Come here. Здесь?